Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Asterisk. What happens when a seemingly normal couple hides a horrifying secret? Today, we're diving into one of Canada's most disturbing true crime stories. Behind their picture-perfect image, Bernardo and Karla Homolka were hiding a nightmarish reality that shocked the entire nation. Their crimes marked by manipulation, sexual assault, and brutal murder forever changed how Canadians viewed safety in their own neighborhoods and raised urgent questions about justice and accountability. Before we get into the details, please note that this episode contains descriptions of graphic violence and sexual assault, which may be deeply disturbing to some viewers. Listener discretion is strongly advised. If you're interested in true crime stories and want to see more content like this, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue telling these important stories. Asterisk. Paul Bernardo was born on August 27, 1964, Scarborough, Ontario. From the outside, he appeared to have a normal upbringing. But beneath the surface, his life was marked by emotional instability and control issues. Those who knew him described him as charming, well-groomed, and articulate, traits that helped him mask a much darker side. As he grew older, disturbing patterns began to emerge. In the late 1980s, a series of violent sexual assaults began terrorizing the Scarborough area. The attacker, later identified as Bernardo, became known as the Scarborough rapist. He stalked and attacked young women near bus stops, often with alarming brutality. Despite multiple police investigations and composite sketches, Bernardo eluded capture for years, growing more confident and dangerous with each assault. Karla Homolka, born on May 4, 1970, in Port Credit, Ontario, was the eldest of three sisters. Her childhood seemed stable and relatively unremarkable. Friends and family described her as intelligent, outgoing, and seemingly well-adjusted. But beneath that surface, she exhibited signs of manipulation and a deep desire to please those in authority. She met Paul Bernardo in 1987 at a convention in Scarborough when she was just 17 years old. The connection was instant and intense. Their relationship quickly evolved into something far darker, marked by control, dominance, and shared sadistic fantasies. Bernardo found in Karla not just a partner, but a willing accomplice. Over time, their dynamic became toxic and dangerous, laying the groundwork for a series of horrific crimes that would shock the country. Between 1987 and 1990, the city of Scarborough was gripped by fear as a wave of brutal sexual assaults unfolded. It's one more violent than the last. Paul Bernardo, later identified as the Scarborough rapist, was behind these attacks, targeting young women near bus stops or walking home late at night. He would typically strike from behind, using surprise and force to overpower his victims, often threatening them with a knife. The first confirmed attack occurred in May 1987. Over the next 3 years, police linked at least a dozen rapes and attempted rapes to the same offender. The victims, mostly women between the ages of 15 and 21, described a tall, blonde man who was clean-cut and soft-spoken, a stark contrast to the violence he inflicted. Many survivors shared hauntingly similar stories, being stalked, dragged into secluded areas, and assaulted with shocking brutality. Some described how he would taunt them, controlling the situation with chilling precision. Despite these common threads, Bernardo managed to evade capture. The police released composite sketches, collected forensic evidence, and even conducted extensive door-to-door interviews. At one point, Bernardo himself was questioned and even volunteered a DNA sample, but due to lab backlogs, it sat untested for years. This delay proved costly. As police struggled with limited technology and growing public pressure, Bernardo continued to attack, each time becoming more emboldened. The missed opportunities were numerous. Witnesses gave consistent descriptions. A composite sketch closely resembled Bernardo, and his name came up multiple times as a potential suspect. But bureaucratic delays, communication gaps between police departments, and flawed prioritization meant he remained free to escalate his crimes beyond rape into something far more sinister. After years of terrorizing women as the Scarborough rapist, Paul Bernardo's crimes escalated from sexual assault to murder, chilling transition. That revealed the full depths of his depravity. And shockingly, his partner in these horrific acts was someone no one expected: his fiancée. Later wife Karla Homolka. The turning point came in December 1990 with the tragic death of Karla's 15-year-old sister, Tammy Homolka. Karla, who had grown increasingly submissive to Bernardo's twisted desires, offered up her own sister as a Christmas gift. Together, they drugged Tammy using animal tranquilizers stolen from the veterinary clinic where Karla worked. While Tammy was unconscious, Bernardo sexually assaulted her with Karla's active participation. But something went horribly wrong. Tammy began to choke and eventually stopped breathing. In a panic, the couple cleaned up the evidence, staged the scene to look like an accident, and called 911. Tammy was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. The death was ruled accidental aspiration caused by alcohol and vomiting, allowing Paul and Karla to walk free, their secret intact. But the darkness didn't end there. In June 1991, 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey went missing after returning home late and finding herself locked out of her house. Bernardo encountered her alone and lured her into his car. What followed was a horrifying ordeal. Over the course of several days, Leslie was imprisoned in the couple's home repeatedly, raped and tortured. The abuse was videotaped footage that would later become central to the prosecution's case. Eventually, Bernardo murdered her and dismembered her body. Her remains were found encased in cement and dumped in Lake Gibson. Paul Bernardo was finally caught in February 1993 after years of evading justice. By this time, police had linked him to the Scarborough rapist cases through DNA evidence that had sat untested for over 2 years due to forensic backlogs. When it finally came back with a match, the investigation shifted quickly. Authorities obtained a search warrant for the home Bernardo shared with Karla Homolka. Though the search was limited in scope to avoid compromising the investigation, it gave police enough grounds to arrest him. Around the same time, Karla had left Bernardo and was staying with family. She had suffered visible physical injuries, claiming Bernardo had been abusive throughout their relationship. As pressure mounted and her involvement in the crimes became clearer, Karla approached police with a deal in exchange for a reduced sentence. She would testify against Bernardo and provide full disclosure. In 1993, she accepted a plea bargain: 12 years in prison for manslaughter in the deaths of Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French. She portrayed herself as a battered woman under the control of a sadistic partner. The public would later learn just how misleading that narrative was. The turning point came when the police finally obtained the infamous videotapes the couple had made. These tapes, hidden in a ceiling light fixture by Bernardo, showed not only the brutal assaults of Mahaffey and French but also Karla's active, willing participation in the crimes, including the assault of her own sister, Tammy. Prosecutors and police were horrified, but the deal had already been made. Karla's light sentence, now dubbed the deal with the devil, sparked widespread outrage across Canada. Many felt she had manipulated the system, downplaying her role while allowing Bernardo to take the full fall. Bernardo's trial began in 1995 and lasted several months. Due to the disturbing content of the tapes, only a select group of officials and jurors were allowed to view them, while transcripts were used during court proceedings. The jury found Bernardo guilty on all charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and aggravated sexual assault. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole and was later designated a dangerous offender, effectively ensuring he would never be released. Media coverage of the case was intense, both nationally and internationally. The story of a seemingly normal suburban couple committing such horrific crimes captivated and horrified the public. Strict publication bans were placed on the trial to protect the victims' families. But public outrage persisted, especially once Karla's role became clearer. The Bernardo and Homolka case forced Canada to confront uncomfortable truths about its justice system, the limits of plea bargaining, and how predators can sometimes hide in plain sight. Karla Homolka was released from prison in 2005 after serving her full 12-year sentence. Despite the horror surrounding her crimes, the plea deal she struck in 1993 meant she couldn't be held longer even, though the videotapes later revealed. She had been an active participant, not a coerced victim as she claimed. Her release sparked national outrage and a wave of fear, especially in communities where she attempted to quietly resettle. In the years following her release, Homolka tried to live under the radar. She changed her name, married her lawyer's brother, and had children. At various points she lived in Quebec, then later moved to the Caribbean before quietly returning to Canada. Her presence, particularly when she was found volunteering at a school in 2017, reignited public anger. Many felt she had not only evaded true justice, but was now trying to blend back into normal society without showing true remorse. Her attempts to live a quiet life have been repeatedly disrupted by media attention and public outcry. For many Canadians, the fear and disgust associated with her name have never gone away. Paul Bernardo remains behind bars. He is incarcerated at Millhaven Institution, a maximum security prison in Ontario. After being designated a dangerous offender in 1995, a status that makes parole nearly impossible. In 2023, Bernardo was quietly transferred to a medium security prison, sparking widespread backlash. The move was widely criticized by victims' families and the public, prompting a review of the correctional system's handling of high-profile, dangerous inmates. Following the backlash, he was moved back to a maximum security facility. His name continues to evoke horror, and he remains one of Canada's most reviled criminals. The Bernardo and Homolka case had a lasting impact on Canada's justice system. It exposed major flaws in law enforcement coordination, especially the delays in testing DNA, which might have prevented later crimes had they been acted on sooner. As a result, Canada made significant improvements in its forensic processing capabilities, implemented stronger victim protections, and introduced reforms in how police forces share information. But perhaps the most controversial legacy of the case is the issue of plea deals. Karla Homolka's reduced sentence is still widely seen as a miscarriage of justice. Many believe the Crown rushed into an agreement before fully understanding her role. The tapes, which surfaced only after the deal was finalized, showed a very different version of events than what she had told investigators. The case became a cautionary tale about the risks of plea bargaining in serious crimes, especially when critical evidence has yet to surface. To this day, the victims Tommy Homolka, Leslie Mahaffey, and Kristen French remain at the heart of this tragedy. Their stories are a stark reminder of the need for vigilance, accountability, and justice that truly reflects the scale of the harm done. The case forever changed how Canada handles sexual violence, higher-risk offenders, and the voices of victims in the courtroom. Media quickly dubbed Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka the Ken and Barbie Killers, a nickname that played on their attractive, clean-cut appearance. But behind that polished facade was a dark and sadistic reality. The label reflected society's shock. How could two people who looked so normal, even ideal, commit such monstrous acts? The media portrayal sensationalized their appearance, while also emphasizing the disconnect between their looks and their crimes, making the case all the more chilling to the public. One of the most disturbing elements for many was Karla Homolka's apparent lack of remorse. Despite her claims of being a victim, the videotapes revealed her active role in the assaults and murders. Her calm demeanor in court, along with the fact that she later built a family and tried to live a quiet suburban life, left a lasting impression of coldness and moral detachment. Many Canadians viewed her as manipulative, someone who expertly played the legal system and public sympathy to minimize her punishment. From a psychological perspective, the relationship between Bernardo and Homolka has been examined through the lens of narcissism, manipulation, and control. Bernardo exhibited classic traits of a malignant narcissist, charming, controlling, and sadistic. He thrived on power and domination, especially over vulnerable victims. Homolka, for her part, demonstrated signs of dependent personality traits, but also a willingness to participate and enable violent acts, especially when they gained her approval from Bernardo. Their dynamic reflected a toxic feedback loop. He dominated, she enabled, and together they spiraled deeper into depravity. This case has since become a cautionary tale not only about the dangers of toxic, abusive relationships, but also about how appearances can deceive. It challenged the public to reconsider assumptions about who is capable of evil. It also sparked national conversations around justice, rehabilitation, and the limits of legal negotiation in cases of extreme violence. The legacy of Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka isn't just about what they did, it's about what they represented, the horror that can hide behind ordinary faces, and the importance of vigilance, accountability, and justice that genuinely serves the victims. The case of Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka is one of the darkest chapters in Canadian true crime history. It forces us to reflect not only on the horrific acts themselves, but also on the systems that allowed them to continue for so long in the justice system's response afterward. While Bernardo will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars, Karla's freedom remains a source of deep pain and controversy for many. What remains most important, however, is remembering the victims. Tammy Homolka, Leslie Mahaffey, and Kristen French. Their lives were stolen. Their families continue to carry that loss. This case taught us painful lessons about appearances, manipulation, and how justice can sometimes fail those it's meant to protect. But it also sparked change, from improved forensic practices to more critical scrutiny of plea deals and violent crimes. What do you think about Karla's deal? Was justice truly served? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this case compelling, be sure to check out our other videos on Canadian true crime, victim advocacy, and psychological profiling. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you for watching and remembering the victims.